We spent $51,000 renovating a 2-bedroom condo in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, and today we'll talk about when you should make a significant investment, when it doesn't make sense, and how we help our sellers think through those suggestions for those updates before you sell. I'm Yesenia with the Krishnan team, and we're back with a video every Monday at 5 p.m. So when you're selling, one of the most common questions is, what should I do to prep my home for sale to obviously get me the most money possible? So I think you'll find a lot of the information we'll go through today very useful. And if you're a buyer in today's market, it is also very important to understand what are some of those updates that you can do as you search for properties that may not cost as much as you think. So this condo is a 2-bedroom condo. It's a Victorian 2-unit building. We're going to the top floor unit, and we're in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, a very walkable neighborhood. You're at the crossroads of Cole Valley, Nopa, and Golden Gate Park. So let's head on in and I'll show you everything that we did. And by the time this video comes out, this unit would have been sold. So if you're looking for more units like this, call, text, or email. We always have something coming soon. Okay, before we head on in and I show you this amazing condo, we definitely wanted to start with the exterior. So obviously first impression is everything, and this building has a gorgeous vintage Victorian facade, but it needed a little bit of TLC. So the first thing that we recommended is painting all the stairs leading up, doing power washing on the front, painting all the railings, the gate, to kind of just refresh the paint. Let's head on in and I'll show you a few other amazing things we did here. So before we touch anything, in our conversations with the clients, the biggest question is, what updates or what should I do to prep my home for sale? So as we walk in here, this is a top floor unit. In the interior, you know, these Victorians have just those beautiful period details. It's really a shame oftentimes when you walk into them and they've just been kind of painted over and over, and these medallions have just like a thick coat of paint. They're just like they don't match the ceiling anymore. They just look messy. And so one of the first things that we did here is, like, this unit has amazing period details throughout. And so we wanted to just elevate those spaces, but also bring in a modern touch to it. So paint is one of the cheapest things that you can do in a unit to elevate the space. And so right now we lead into a lot of what's cool and trending and what's, you know, modern with colors right now. And so what we're finding in the design world is that you're actually kind of using a little less color, but using kind of more of a monochromatic look to kind of create a more elevated space without going to, you know, too wild with colors. So what we did here versus like painting walls, we kept the walls neutral, and then we painted the wainscoting and all of the beautiful trim throughout the unit to kind of make the trim and those beautiful vintage details pop, while still keeping it a very classic look. We also upgraded the fixtures here throughout the unit, but this is a stunning fixture. As I mentioned earlier, like, first impressions are everything, so we wanted to have the buyer walk in and just feel immediately at home. One of the other things that we did was we installed this beautiful runner here. On the carpet, it was just like painted a dark color, so we repainted the entire unit and installed a stunning runner. I just feel like runners are very elegant. They're not necessarily super cheap, but they're a really nice way to kind of elevate the space for, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of money. Okay, so back to the question. When our clients ask us, like, well, what should I do here? A lot of the times it is a 3-for-1, right? So the items that we're recommending, the updates that we're recommending that you do for sale, we generally want you to see $3 on the return if we're asking you to spend $1. But there's no real exact science to it, because sometimes there are some updates that are more meaningful in the sense that we can't exactly say, if you spent this, you're gonna get X back. Some of these updates are a matter of whether or not you will sell if you do these updates or not. So this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. Our clients bought it many years ago, over a decade and a half ago, and they bought it for a significantly low price. So in this case, our clients had a lot of equity, right? So that is definitely a piece that we keep in mind when we're making our suggestions for the updates that we would recommend. How much equity does the seller have against what we're asking you to spend against the comps, right? This is a gorgeous unit, but it definitely needed some TLC. So we're standing in the dining room right now, and you'll see we brought in that color on the wainscoting and the walls throughout. We elevated the fixtures. We obviously staged the home. But one of the things that I was really thinking about at this unit was the kitchen. And the kitchen is probably, the place that you spend most of your time in your home. And this kitchen, quite frankly, needed a lot of love. We mostly did everything in this kitchen. And in this case, I walked through the unit. So we do a walkthrough of the home when we first sign a listing. And at that walkthrough, we're bringing in the vendors, our project coordinator, and I'm walking through and saying, okay, these are all of the things that I believe that you should do to your home to prep it for sale that are going to yield the highest sales price. And one of the things that I'm looking out for at that walkthrough is what are the biggest challenges of this unit and how can I overcome those challenges? So in this unit, I believe the biggest challenge we had was the kitchen. There was a position of the kitchen, where it was located in the unit, the size of the kitchen in comparison to the scale of the other rooms in the unit, and it needed everything, like cabinetry, countertops, everything was old in here. It had this very awkward cabinet on this side. So it's a smaller kitchen, so we just didn't need that. It wasn't doing anything, it was clogging space. So I really wanted to make a meaningful investment in this kitchen, right? And so that also meant that maybe I was sacrificing some other things I may have wanted to do, because to me, this was the pain point of the unit, and how can I get buyers to just fall in love with it? How can I update it so people just sort of kind of don't even think about where it's located, right? Or that it's smaller than most of the rooms in the home. So I think we really, really knocked it out of the park in this kitchen. And so what we did here was we installed this gorgeous tile flooring. There are meaningful ways to update a home without needing to do a gut renovation. And if you're a buyer, this is also very important to understand, because I cannot tell you how many clients of mine have passed on homes, or they go to an open house and they call me and they say, gosh, the location is perfect, the size is perfect, utility is there, but I just don't love it. And I think it needs everything. And I go tour it myself and I'm like, well, I think if you just did a little paint here and there, or change countertops, or change flooring, and all of that is, not significant, it actually could become an 8 out of 10, right? So what else did we do here? We upgraded the light fixture here. We updated the countertops. So we did this beautiful, I'm trying to stay away a little bit from just the white countertops and just get a little bit more fun with the countertops while still keeping it neutral. We did this gorgeous marble tile backsplash. Another way to save here was that we're always trying to keep the cost down, but at the same time make a significant improvement. And so one of the ways that we saved here was that my initial vision was to bring this countertop all the way up as a backsplash, but countertop is significantly more expensive than tile. So one way to cut back was that we didn't do that. We went with a tile backsplash and just kept the countertop to the counter. We also found ways, another way to save here was to salvage the cabinets that were existing and paint them. So we painted all the cabinets here, we buffed them out, kind of did our best to buff out all the scratches, and did this nice, beautiful, modern grayish blue color. And then we installed some new handles throughout. So we did also paint the top cabinets, also installed the same gorgeous brass hardware. And then we also updated all the appliances. One thing this kitchen did not have, and I know how painful it is to have a kitchen without a dishwasher or a very small dishwasher, was is not having one, right? So this kitchen did not have a dishwasher previously, but there was this cabinetry space here that was kind of, you know, it did have cabinets, but to me, having a dishwasher was a lot more meaningful than having cabinets. So we installed a dishwasher where there currently was not a dishwasher. We cut into the cabinetry, installed a dishwasher, and then updated both the fridge and the range. The fridge that was previously here was like those very small apartment fridges, and when you're buying nearly a $2 million unit, like you want a proper size fridge. So we found ways to make all of that work. We actually had to shave the countertops here to get a more full-size fridge in here. And I think, you know, now you have all the appliances that you need. And if you needed more storage, because we did take away some cabinetry, you can do a beautiful buffet here. Or your dining room is so massive that you can have tons of like storage in here, right? So I think we knocked it out of the park with that. I got so many compliments on the kitchen, and I do think that investment, as we're filming this video today, we took offers on the unit, and it is currently pushing towards the higher end of the range of the comps that I shared with my client. So one of the things that a lot of times sellers really want to understand, what is the dollar for dollar return? So if I spent $50,000, what is my sales price? But there's really no science to that. Really, the way to think about it is that there's a range in which the comp suggests your place would trade, and doing the updates, you're doing the updates to push you towards the higher end of that range and hopefully beyond it. And in most cases, we are seeing that our clients are getting the higher end of the range when they do the updates that we recommend. And of course, the way we negotiate when those offers come in. So currently where the offers stand, we are at the higher end of the range. And so that $50,000 investment is proving to be successful. All right, so before we leave the dining room, another very important thing to do is that this unit is a top floor unit and it has a massive attic space that's not built out. The way that the condo documents read is that this unit has rights to develop an attic and a rooftop, though my client never explored that. But this is just like a rendering of what the attic could look like if you finished it. And so another thing that we really did for sale was really sell the potential of this attic space. So here's a rendering that we had drawn up of what the attic space currently looks like. And that rendering that I showed you there is just a vision of what maybe you could do if you decided to build that out. It's a lot of additional square footage, and you access that space through this ladder here. So it's open. I don't know if you could sort of see here. So you go up here, but there's, you know, you'd have to work with an architect in the city and permits to figure out how to get, you know, you'd probably build a proper staircase and to get additional square footage up there. So that is another way to, you know, our clients never explored it. The buyer definitely has to go through the city and permitting and explore that on their own, but it is a meaningful amount of square footage. At some point, somebody can potentially build out, and we wanted to make sure that every buyer who was interested in this home understood that potential. Moving on. So this unit is priced at $1,295,000. It is certainly priced lower than the market comps, but as you know, if you've been watching our videos in San Francisco, everything is priced low, and that's just the way to go to get multiple offers, get as many feet in the door, and then drive the price up. So this is one of the bedrooms. One of the things I love about these Victorian units is you have 11-foot ceilings. You have your top floors. You're gonna have a lot more natural light than you would on a lower floor unit. And the scale of these rooms, which I was mentioning earlier, was that all of the rooms are so massive, right? So you've got these massive 11-foot ceilings, large scale to the bedrooms. This is a king bed, and you have really sizable nightstands on either side, tons of dresser space here, and 2 closets. So really nice scale to these rooms. We also had all of the hardwood floors refinished. They're beautiful original floors, and so we had those refinished for sale as well. And if you're wanting to understand the cost of renovations against what you can sell your place for, that is a more in-depth conversation, and it's so nuanced against a couple of things that I mentioned before. When you bought, the equity you have in the place, what the place needs, what are the challenges of the unit and how we overcome them. So it's a pretty nuanced conversation. We're happy to chat with you about your exact property. Another small investment that makes a big difference in a place is that a lot of times I think a buyer walks into a place and they see different types of floorings or flooring that just like changes color in every room. And I think that's the easiest way to cheapen a place. And they don't realize, as I said, there's those buyers that come back and say like, I don't know, there's a lot of great things about it, but it just looks like it needed to be totally updated. Well, a lot of times if you just change flooring, that makes a big difference in elevating the space. So we'll go into the second bedroom here. Again, same beautiful scale, really large bedrooms. Updated the fixtures, painted throughout. I don't know if you can see it in this video, but we went for a monochromatic look in the bedroom. So all the trim, walls, ceiling was painted the same color. It's like this dusty rose, but still very neutral. In here, we also wanted to be mindful about what renovations you're doing that are gonna make a difference. So a lot of times clients will say, should I do a gut renovation to the bathroom? Like the bathroom needs renovated. Like my client actually asked me that here. Should I renovate the bathroom before we bring it to sale? And doing a gut renovation, generally speaking, you don't see the ROI. So most things that we're doing to prep a home for sale are more surface level lipstick renovations, right? So what we did here was we painted the walls throughout. This was a different color tile. It was actually like a green tile. And so we painted the tile just white, right? To make it look more modern and clean and new. We repainted the existing vanity. I mean, it's a beautiful vanity. It just needed to be cleaned up. So it looked really old, right? So just paint went a long way in making it look new and refreshed. We changed the light fixture here. There was a very old light fixture there. And then they had installed kind of this, it wasn't a built-in cabinetry, but it was this massive metal cabinetry here. And so we removed that because it just felt like it was cluttering the bathroom. And then we just had our stager do something here to show the buyer that you can actually install some, you know, like an armoire or something here if you needed more storage. And then this was fun. So in these Victorians, it's very common to have a split bath. So meaning that you have your shower and your vanity there, and then your toilet is here. These washrooms can feel just very awkward a lot of the times and just very unsexy and just not great. So we wanted to get fun in here and elevate the washroom. And so we did. So we installed this really cool fixture and we changed the flooring in here. So we did this checkered flooring that I think is just so cool. It feels very Parisian and I think it really goes well with the vintage details of the place. So we did that and obviously added some artwork for staging, but I think this washroom, it looks very charming now. Okay, so we're in the living room now. And one of the other things that's nice about these Victorian units is that they have very flexible floor plans in that this is a formal living room, but I actually think that a buyer could live in this unit as a 3-bedroom and use this as another bedroom if they wanted to, and it's my understanding that my client did do that at some point. So you would use this as a bedroom, and then the formal dining room would then become your living room. It's also so large you could have a living room and a smaller, like round kitchen table if you needed to, or there's also enough space in the kitchen to do like a countertop. Anyway, so we're in the formal living room here. Again, we painted throughout, refinished the floors. The chimney had been like removed a long time ago. It was a brick chimney that was removed, but they still had the opening for it. And then the tile flooring in front of the fireplace, but it was non-existent. So what we did was we drywalled that all off, closed it off, removed the tile flooring, had our flooring guy install flooring in this area, and then refinish everything to kind of, all look unison. So you can't even tell that this little section is new. So moving on, we're also, as we're thinking through the renovations, are like, what are the things that are mattering to buyers most right now? Like I work with a lot of buyers, and so I'm always thinking through like putting my buyer cap on. If I was a buyer, what are the challenges of the unit? How do I overcome those when I'm prepping the home for sale? This is one of my favorite fixtures we installed. And so how do I overcome those challenges? And how do I highlight the best things about the unit? And what are the things that a buyer needs? So we're finding that a lot since COVID, buyers really love outdoor space. Like this is the most walkable green location. You have Golden Gate Park nearby and the Panhandle. But a lot of times buyers really do want outdoor space in their home, right? Or at their home. And so another place that we did spend a fair amount was in the backyard. We did try to keep it low maintenance, but this yard needed a lot of love. And so let's head on down and I'll show you the yard. So it's a 2-unit building. And we're in the kitchen now, and you access it by going, so you step out to your own little patio here, have a nice little table and chairs, have your morning coffee. And then we had our landscaper clean up all this bougainvillea here, which is stunning. And in a minute, we'll talk about the unsexy stuff that we recommend in terms of updates when we are selling a place. So it's a 2-unit building. This is the lower unit. And then this backyard also got a lot of sunlight. So I definitely think it's a space that you would come and hang out, and enough space to do so, right? So what we did here was we tried to keep it low maintenance and not overspend, because also the buyer and the other owner may want to do something different. But so you have this brick patio, but they had done a significant renovation recently, that lower unit did, and they also reconstructed most parts of the exterior stairs. So there was just tons and tons of sand. Like there was just sand and old wood, and it just was basically like a dump site back here. So we had our contractor, our landscaper, remove all that sand, uncover the brick patio, power wash it, and then we had him clean up and install plants around the perimeter. And then we had him install like those rocks just kind of under here, more mulch. Mulch is a very easy way to kind of clean up a space, but not overspend, and it's low maintenance. Now you have a space where you can actually come and hang out and want to hang out. It was just like totally overgrown. I'm sure we'll share some of those before and after photos so you can see. But the backyard was also a meaningful place that we wanted to spruce up, because we understand how important having outdoor space is to a buyer. So now we can talk a little bit about like what are the unsexy stuff that we might suggest you do to update your home for sale. And that is the structure, right? What are the things that might come up in the disclosures? What are some of the things going on with the structure outside of cosmetic updates? And so for this property specifically, the city is going through an ordinance where they are calling out a lot of like the deck and exterior stairs, wooden stairs in these buildings, in these older buildings, and they're calling that they be updated. There was just horror stories that have happened around California where decks and balconies have collapsed. And so since then, they are requiring an ordinance for certain buildings that they update their deck and their wooden stairs. And so one of the things that we had been chatting with our client for some time, but their back stairs and exterior stairs were called out that needed a replacement of several pieces of the woods in the framing. And so, you know, it was a meaningful expense. It was a meaningful expense to do that, nearly, you know, north of $50,000. And so client had asked, like, is this something that we should take care of before we go to sell the unit? And absolutely, that was a recommendation that we made and a good call that we made to get this taken care of, because I do think there are certain things that are sometimes a buyer just can't overcome. And so as I mentioned earlier in the video, like what are some things that are gonna make a difference in whether you sell or not, and that you should do. So the stairs was something that we highly recommended was done prior to bringing the unit to sale, because that's a significant expense, nearly $100,000 that a buyer would have to inherit, right? And most buyers would just say, no, that's too much work. I'm just gonna find a place that has less to do. There's a certain number of things that are acceptable in disclosures, and in San Francisco, it's a lot, but there's also a threshold where it's either going to affect the desirability of your property or the price in which your property would sell for. So this was one of them, and a suggestion that we made that was done and paid for prior to sale. A lot of times if we do inspections and we find that there's a combination of a lot going on with the building, an older roof, a $40,000 pest report, a foundation crack. Certain times we'll review those before we go live and say like, okay, this is a lot. If I put my buyer cap on, and what would my buyer be thinking here? And I think, and if we feel that the buyer would think, oh gosh, this is too much, I'm gonna move on from this property, or I'm gonna make a meaningfully lower offer because of all these repairs that are called out, then we might suggest that you take care of some of those higher ticket item things or more urgent things, so that it doesn't ultimately affect your sale or the sales price. All right, so I've shown you everything we've done here. Our clients spend nearly $52,000 on updating the home for sale. There was a range in which the comp suggested it would sell for. As I mentioned earlier, we're at the higher end of that range, so I think that $52,000 made her potentially $200,000. So in her case, I think she's very happy that she made that investment, and I do think it made a meaningful difference in where those offers come in. If you're looking to buy or sell, feel free to call, text, or email, and we're happy to walk you through what updates might make a difference in your sale.